Mrs. Shomana Gracia Jacob, ME in Computer Science, lecturer in CPET, Chennai for the past 3 years. She has published 4 national and international papers. She has won Star Achiever Award for academic proficiency.
Welcome to the UGC lecture series in Computer Science. In today's session, we will proceed with the concept of C++ programming, the types of operators that are available in C++, and the looping constructs or control statements that are available in C++. So, in today's session, we will be seeing about the operators and control statements. Operators. Operators are nothing but they are used to compute and evaluate certain test cases or conditions. So, while using operators, you need to have arguments, and operators should work on some values. So, it can either be direct values or it can be some kind of expressions. So, classification of these operators, they are classified as arithmetic, assignment operators, logical operators, comparison operators and unary operators. Now, we will see how these operators work and what are the rules governing the use of these operators. Before that, we know that operators work on values or expressions. So, we need to know what is the definition of this word expression. So, an expression is something which includes constants or variables, function calls, or they can be combined with operators. So, an expression needs to have an operator, and this operator needs to be something that involves either variables whose values can change or constants whose values remain the same, or they can even include function calls. So, here we have given 2 examples. One is 3 divided by 2 plus 5 sine of x plus square root of y. So, the second example includes functions. For example, this includes functions over here, this includes functions, and these are operators and variables. So, this is how expressions are formed in C++. Next, we move on to the operators. First, you have the arithmetic operators. Arithmetic operators are used to perform arithmetic operations which involve addition, subtraction, multiplication, division and modulo division. So, the symbols of these operators are given here. If an expression involves more than one operator, like if in a single expression you have both addition and subtraction and multiplication and division, how is the compiler going to know which operation is to be done first? So, for that reason you have something called the precedence rules. So, what are these? What is meant by this word precedence? Precedence is a concept which decides which operator should be evaluated first. So, there is a set of predefined rules already existing in the language which tells us which operator should be executed first in an expression. So, these are the precedence rules given in the table. This is the value construction type of operators which is indicated by this parenthesis. So, this shows that it has to be implemented from the innermost to outermost. So, there are 2 concepts involved in execution of arithmetic operators. One is the precedence, which tells which operator is to be executed first. There may be a case when 2 operators with the same precedence can come on the same expression. For example, addition and subtraction have the same precedence, multiplication and division have the same precedence. So, when both of them come in an expression, then we have to move over to this associativity. So, associativity tells us in which order, from left to right or right to left, from which order the operator has to be executed. So, when you have this parenthesis in one expression, you need not have just one opening and one closing. You may have 3 or 4 parentheses, in which case the innermost parenthesis is to be executed first. The values within the innermost parenthesis need to be executed first, proceeding with the next outermost and then the final. So, that is what is mentioned over here, innermost to outermost. Next, you have the multiplicative, which is nothing but multiplication, division and modulo division. So, this is to be executed first from left to right. So, all these 3 operators have the same precedence. Parenthesis has the highest precedence, multiplication, division and modulo has the next precedence. But when all these 3 come in the same expression, then you have to execute them in the order from left to right. Similarly, in the case of the additive component of an expression, you have plus and minus. So, plus and minus has the lowest precedence compared to the other arithmetic operators. So, in one expression, if you are having multiplication and addition, first you have to execute multiplication, then only you should execute addition. If you have addition and subtraction in the same expression, then whichever operator comes leftmost, that is to be executed first, proceeding to the right. That is what is given in this associativity rule. So if you memorize this, you will be able to identify how an expression is evaluated or executed by the C++ compiler. Next we move to the assignment operators. They are also called arithmetic assignment operators. The symbol is equal to. It assigns a value of the right operand to the left. So the left is the receiving side, the right is the giving side. So here is an example. When you give x is equal to y, y will be holding some value that will be transferred to x. So x gets the value from y. It's not necessary that at a time only one value should be given to one variable. Here is an example of assigning values to more than one variable. Here in the same statement, x and u, two variables are given the same value 0. So this is another way of using assignment operators. So here we have another form of using assignment operators with the additive and multiplicative operators. Here if you see, you are having plus is equal to, it adds the operands and assigns a result to the left operand. So here also the left operand is the receiving side, but that plus is equal to is equivalent to x is equal to x plus y, that is defined over here. Here if you see, you are given x plus is equal to y. So this is a new type of using this plus is equal to. This is also valid in C. The meaning of this is that x is equal to x plus y. So x is also holding some value, y is holding some value. You want to increment the value of x by adding y to it, and you want the result also to be stored in the same variable x. In such cases you can use this plus is equal to operator. This is also a way of assigning values. Now this plus is equal to is valid with all types of arithmetic operators. You can have modulo is equal to, multiplication is equal to, division is equal to, minus is equal to. That is what is given in the next example. Modulo equal to, it divides the left operand by the right operand, assigns a result to the left operand. So x modulo is equal to y is equivalent to x is equal to x modulo y. So instead of writing a big statement like this, you can condense it and write it like this. So both the approaches are available to the programmer. Whichever is convenient for you. If you find this confusing, you can very well go in the normal way and perform this type of operation. But this condensed approach is a more efficient way of writing C++ programs. So example here, x is 10 and y is 20. I am giving y minus is equal to x, which is equal to y is equal to y minus x. So there is nothing but y is equal to 20 minus 10. So the value of y is decremented from 20 to 10, and y modulo x, y is equal to y modulo x, 20 is divided by 10, the remainder is 0. So the output y contains the value 0. So this is how these condensed form of assignment operators are used. Next you have unary operators, the same that are available in C. It operates only on one operand, that is why it is called unary. You have increment and decrement. It increments the value of the operand by 1 plus plus, and it decrements the value of the operand by 1. In this you have post increment and post decrement, that also we have seen. Post increment means the operand will come before the operator, and if it is pre increment, first the operand will be incremented and then only the operand will come. So plus plus operand means it is pre increment. Operand plus plus means it is post increment. So depending upon the position of the operator, you tell pre or post. Next we move to the logical operators. They are used to combine two or more expressions. The operators that are available are AND, OR and NOT. So this is the example that I have given just beside it. X is greater than 5 and y is less than 10. Then you have the OR operator, which is nothing but two pipe symbols. X is greater than 3 or y is less than 4. Then you have the short circuit operators. Now this AND and OR are called short circuit operators. Now what is the meaning of this word short circuit in the sense? Now if you take this expression, first expression which I have given, x is greater than 5 and y is less than 10. AND indicates that only when both the expressions are true, the whole value is true. AND means both have to be true. So when the compiler is executing this first expression, x is greater than 5, if it finds out that this x is greater than 5 is false, automatically the entire expression will be false. So it will not go to the next one to see whether it is true or not. By executing the first expression itself, it identifies that the first expression is false because there is an AND symbol involved. If in AND truth table, if 1 is 0, the output is 0. So here also if 1 is false, the whole expression is false. Similarly, in this OR operator, when the compiler is executing this expression, if it identifies that x is greater than 3 is true, it will accept that the whole expression is true, because in the OR truth table, if any one operand is true also, the entire expression is true. So these two operators are called short circuit operators because by evaluating the first expression itself, in the AND case if it is false, it will not evaluate the second expression. In the OR case, if it is true, it will not evaluate the second expression. So it is a shortcut way of evaluating the entire expression. So this AND and OR are called short circuit operators. Finally, you have this NOT function, which is nothing but the complement. So NOT of x is equal to 0 means if x is not equal to 0, then you proceed with the statements. So it is a complementing function, whether it is true or false. So these are the logical operators available in C++. Comparison operators is also called relational operators. They are used to compare two values. They have only one output, either true or false. The operators that are available are is equal to is equal to. It checks whether two values are same. Not equal to checks whether both the values are not identical. You have greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, and less than or equal to. So on both sides you either have two values or you can have two expressions, but the output will be either 0 or 1. So these are the operators that we have seen in C++, the arithmetic operators, the assignment operators, unary operators, the condensed way of using them, and then you have the logical and comparison operators, and what are the operators available in C++. Now we will see the control statements in C++ after the break. Welcome back after the break. Next we move over to the control statements that are available in C++. So what are these control statements is what we have already seen in C. They are called conditional constructs, that is based on whether a condition is true or false, a set of statements are either executed or not executed. So it is a selective execution of statements depending upon the value of the expressions associated with them. So you have an expression, they will evaluate to some value, based on the value you will decide whether you have to execute some statements or not. So it is the selection of the user based on the output of the expression evaluation, you have the selective execution. So in this you have two types of constructs in conditional constructs. One is the decision making statements, the other is the looping constructs. So we will see what are the two types of decision making statements and the looping constructs. In decision making you have the if else construct and the switch case construct. So first we will see the if else statement. Here we use the keyword if. It is followed by a logical expression where data is compared. Decision is made based on the result of the comparison. The syntax of this is if keyword followed by the expression, opening and closing braces which contain the statements, followed by the else keyword which contain the statement. So if the expression is true, the statements following if will be evaluated. If the expression is false, the statements following else will be evaluated. So this is the if else construct available in C++. Next we have the switch case construct. Now the switch case also has the same syntax that we have seen in C. Here when we have multiple values for a single variable, like in this if and else expression, one variable you can say if x is equal to 0 then do this, else do that. Now in switch case say x can hold values from 0 to 10. In such a case you need to have those many number of if statements, if x is equal to 0 or if x is equal to 1, if x is equal to 2 and so on. So when you do not want such a big program, but you have a situation where one variable can hold more than one value, then you have to go in for the switch case construct. Here every switch statement has a condition variable, let us call it CV. This condition variable is compared with each case constant. Now case constant is something which is all the possible values that the CV can hold. So, if x is the condition variable, and if x can have values from 0 to 5, there will be 5 case constants from 0 to 5, and this condition variable is compared with each case constant. If one of the case constants matches with the condition variable, the statements which follow that case constant are executed. Now, you will see it in the example. Now, say you are having x is equal to 2 over here, then you are giving switch x. So, here that x becomes a condition variable which is indicated by the green arrow. So, now this x can hold the value, x is holding the value 2, but we do not know that x is holding only the value 2. X can be, x is a variable, integer variable, so it can hold any integer value. So, because it can hold a number of values, we are using this switch case statement. It is followed by this opening brace which indicates the body of the switch construct. Now, this is called the case constant, this one is called the case constant. So, the value which follows the keyword case is called the case constant. So, this x is now compared with this 1, x is holding the value 2, this case constant is 1. So, is 1 is equal to 2? No. So, the case constant does not match the condition variable. So, the statements following this case will be ignored. Next you come to case 2. This condition variable is again compared with this case constant. So, x is compared with this case constant 2. Yes, 2 is equal to 2. So, the statements following this case constant will be executed. See out, number is 2 and a break statement. The rest of the case construct will not be seen because already there is one case constant which has matched with the condition variable. So, this is how a switch case construct is executed, and this is how the compiler checks the condition variable with each case constant. Now, there are special cases where no case constant matches with the condition variable. In that case, you have something called the default keyword. You may have a default or you may not have a default, that does not matter. But if no case constant matches with the condition variable, if you have a default, it will give a pleasant output. It will say no value matches with the condition variable. So, the default statements are executed. In case there is no default label in your switch case construct, automatically the control will pass out of the switch case construct. So, if there is no default label, none of the statements in the switch case is executed. So, if a case constant matches, the statements following the case constant are executed. If no case constant matches, the statements in the default label are executed. If there is no default label, then no statement in the switch case is executed. These are all the possible situations that can occur when you are creating a switch statement. Now, what is that break statement that we saw in the case constant body? It is used to exit the switch statement. So, we will see what is the significance of this break statement or break keyword. It is used in conditional, it is not necessary that it has to be used only in switch case. It can be used in any conditional construct or even generally in a program. If you want a sudden shift out of the current execution phase, you can use this break statement. It will just exit the body of the conditional construct without any reason. So, suppose you are typing one set of 3 statements and for some reason you want to come out of that loop or come out of that set of statements. You see, every conditional construct's body is indicated by the opening and closing brace. Now, if you want to just shift out of that brace, you can just give a break statement wherever you want. Without any question, the compiler will just come out of the body of the loop and start executing the statements following it. So, it is an unconditional transfer of control. There is no need for any evaluation, no need for any checking. When the compiler sees a break, it will just jump out of that body. Syntax is simply the break keyword followed by the semicolon. So, that is why in the switch case construct, in every case constant set of statements you have the break. Once that statement is executed, it will not compare it with any other case constant, it will simply jump out of the switch body. That is why you use this break statement. Now, this default keyword, as I said, if no case constant matches with the condition variable, their default keyword statements are executed. So, what is this keyword? The statements are executed if the value of the switch condition variable does not match any of the case constants. Both case and default statements can occur in any order. It is not necessary that the default label should come only at the end of the switch case. the default label can come even beforehand or in between. The compiler is going to ignore it, it is only going to keep checking the case constants. Case expressions, that is the switch case expression, can either be an integer or character only. You cannot have expressions as case constant. So, when you say switch x, that x should have a value either a whole number or it should be a character. You cannot have a floating point or double or any special symbols over there. So, that is to be kept in mind. So, these are all the rules that are to be followed when we are writing a switch case construct, and all the possible situations and circumstances that have to be faced and appropriate actions taken based on whether the condition variable matches with the case constants or not. If we forget to use the break keyword in any case construct also, it will lead to a infinite error. Next we move to the looping constructs. So, loop is a construct that causes a section of a program to be repeated a certain number of times. So, here you have just once the statements are executed, if true or not. When you want set of statements to be executed again and again by comparing some condition, you use a loop. So, it continues as long as the loop condition is true. When the condition turns false, control passes to the statements following the loop. So, the types of loops are while loop, do while loop and for loop. We will see each of these. The while loop, here the loop continues until the evaluating condition is false. So, as long as the condition is true, the loop will continue, and the condition must be an expression. Generally it is an expression, though sometimes you have while one also in certain situations. Normally we have only an expression. The expression must return either true or false only, it should not return any other value. The variable evaluated in the Boolean expression is called loop control variable. So, in switch case that variable was called condition variable. Here the expression, the variable is called loop control variable. So, the syntax for that is while expression statements. So, this is a Boolean expression. If it is true, it will execute the set of statements. As long as it is true, it will execute the same set of statements. Once it turns false, it will come out of the loop. Next you have the do while loop. This loop iterates again till the condition becomes false, the same concept as the while loop. The difference between the while and do while is that the loop is executed at least once before you first check the condition. Because here if you see, the statements come before the expression is checked, do statements, then only you are checking the condition. So, first at least once those statements are executed, after that only you check the condition. As long as the while Boolean expression is true, the set of statements will go on keep executing. Once the condition turns false, it will come out of the loop. So, this is the syntax of this do while loop. And finally, you have the for loop. Here the variable that is evaluated in the loop is called a loop variable. It consists of three expressions or three parts: initialization, test, incrementing and decrementing. So, this is the syntax for. Here I is the loop variable, I is equal to 0 is the initialization part, I is less than or equal to 10 is the condition part or the test part, and I plus plus is the action that is to be taken based on the condition. So, the first time the set of statements are executed, I is 0. After that the condition is checked whether I is less than 10. After the increment and decrement I plus plus, so the next time I becomes 1, the condition is checked, then again the set of statements are executed, then again I is incremented, I becomes 2, whether it is less than 10 it is checked, again the statements are executed. So, this way the loop is executed till 10. Once I becomes 10, the condition will turn false and the control will come out of the loop. So, these are the three types of looping constructs in C++. This is just a brief overview because most of it is what has already been studied in C. So, all these are available in C++ with the same rules and the same terms. So, using this we are going to program in C++ using classes and objects. Continue is another unconditional construct. It is used to skip all the subsequent iterations in the loop, takes control back to the beginning of the loop or the next statement of the loop. The syntax is continue with semicolon. So, in break statement it is used to jump out of the loop. In continue it will just leave the rest of the statements in the loop and start from the iteration again, the next iteration again. So, break is to remove all association with that particular body. Continue is just to skip, just once to skip all the statements in the loop and proceed with the next iteration. So, the questions that could come in this session are the different types of operators in C++, what all an expression holds like constants, variables and so on, types of conditional constructs, loops and decision making. In loop you have while, for and do while, the significance of the break and continue statements. So, in today's session we have been seeing about operators and expressions, the conditional constructs and the looping constructs. We will be seeing in detail about the way to compile the C++ programs, and we will proceed with the introduction concepts to classes and objects in C++ in the next session. Thank you.